We are, I'm a career bureaucrat. I've worked in almost every area that you can think of: power, infrastructure, expressways, roads, tourism, temple infrastructure, the home department of Uttar Pradesh, which means the police force of the entire state, and also in areas like higher education and other sectors, as well as disability. So the entire disability law for the country, I was the one who moved it when I was in Government of India. So when we are talking of transforming a state, we are obviously talking of safe cities, we are talking of smart infrastructure, and we in Uttar Pradesh are moving towards a $1 trillion economy for our state. You should all know that India now is the fourth largest economy of the world after USA, China, Germany, and we have just overtaken Japan to become the fourth largest country in the world. So we in Uttar Pradesh want that out of the 4 trillion that we have for India, we should also contribute one of the largest chunks for our country, and that is where we have all started. We right now have an economy the size of 340 billion. We have a population of about 240 million. So we almost have a population which is larger than Nigeria, the largest country in Africa, because all of you, most of you are from the African context, so I'd just like to give you that. Our per capita income is only half that of India, which is about $1,120 per year, per person. And this is the challenge for us, and our area is about 0.24 million square kilometers. We in Uttar Pradesh have a chief minister called Yogi Adityanath. He is a saint. He's a practicing monk who has become the chief minister. You can see the photograph of the chief minister in his saffron robes right at the middle. When we started in our state in 2017, I was one of the first officers to be picked by our chief minister to be part of his team. And it is 3 areas that he focused upon. 1, law and order. 2, infrastructure. And 3, a $1 trillion economy. Now on law and order, the entire world is facing law and order issues even in the best of countries. You have seen in the countries of the world, law and order is a major issue. And it is here that our chief minister decided that, well, the rule of law will reign supreme, zero tolerance to crime and criminality. And we have the largest police force in the world. I've been the Home Secretary of the state. We almost increased the number of personnel within our police force by 50%. And we now have a police force more than about 450,000 people, almost 500,000 police personnel in our state. Women were given a major focus within our police force. Women's safety was a major focus for our police force. A lot of technology was brought upon in the state. We also moved in with a large number of high-tech areas in forensic science, in CCTV and AI recognition of all sorts of images. And we also had a large number of police stations, and almost the entire state was covered with this very intricate network of the police department. One could just imagine that if you give a call on what we have in a foreign country like 911, we have what is called 112. If you give a call on 112 and if you need some help, our help comes in 6.5 minutes anywhere in the state. The average timeline for the police to respond is 6.5 minutes. Now, the next part is infrastructure. We are building the largest airport in Asia, in our state. It is called the Jewar International Airport. It shall be operational in the next maybe about 4 months. We also have 21 airports in our own state, leave alone the entire country. We have 50 cities which are connected to our state capitals. We also have the largest expressways network of our state. We are called the expressway state of the country by the Prime Minister. The entire state, you can see, You can see that the entire state now is covered with expressways, and this is a major boost to our economy. All urban planning, all urban townships, all industrial townships, all come along expressways. So this is what is the model that we have used. We have also used what is called the rapid transport systems. We have invested a lot of money in the rapid transport systems. So this is again an area where a lot of work is being done so that sister cities could be brought together for urbanization. We have what is called the entire country is now facing challenges in the defense sector. We were hardly exporting any defense products from our country as well as our state. Now we in Uttar Pradesh are making the biggest missiles out of Russia in India, which are basically for our defense setups called the BrahMos missile. We are also now working very hard to ensure that we have a lot of push in manufacturing. We did an investment summit about a year ago, and you would be surprised to know that in one investment summit, $121 billion in investment were committed by the various investors from all over the world. If I now move forward, you would just see that we have moved to a range of about 13.6% growth every year, and we intend to grow at around more than 30% in our state to ensure that we get a $1 trillion economy in the next 5 years. As regards the urban areas, as regards urbanization, we are focusing on 4 areas for making the special investment regions, which we call the urban towns. The urban towns in our country would be driven by industrialization because industry gives the push for employment as well as industry gives the push for investment. So these 4 areas are where we are making the special investment regions. One is very near to Delhi. The other is at Jhansi, which is the Bida industrial area. One is in central Uttar Pradesh, which is the capital region, and then one in the eastern side of our state. We call it the Urban Planning Act, which we have implemented in our industrial area, is called Nirman. Nirman stands for Nodal Investment Region for Manufacturing. So this is what Nirman stands for. We have a board for Nirman, which is headed by the Chief Minister. We have an executive committee for the Nirman, which is headed by an executive officer of the level of an industry commissioner. And then we have an authority which has a large number of people within its system. The entire Nirman Act is such that all permissions for every department possible is given within the Nirman agency itself. I will just give you an idea that the Nirman Act, which has been passed, and Bida, which is the industrial area which is coming up, it is intending to have 1,021 personnel working in one industrial authority to ensure that we deliver our goods. So we are also working in almost every area one can think of: rural development, smart cities, agriculture, energy and power, culture, health, and incidentally, we had the largest congregation in the world happening at Kumbh, where more than 660 million people came to Kumbh in our state. So that has ensured that tourism grows at the rate of about 45% in our state. So with these opening remarks, I will now like to take things forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
For the brief context and the introduction.
Yeah.
I want to start with, you've been a career bureaucrat in Uttar Pradesh, which is India's largest state. As you said, it's about the size of Nigeria, but has per capita incomes of South Sudan. Now, India has grown at about 6.5% year on year for the last 35 odd years since liberalization. Yeah. But Uttar Pradesh didn't grow anywhere close to that. It couldn't play catch up. In fact, it grew lower than the average. It's diverging from the richer states. So can you start off by telling us what are some of the challenges for growth in Uttar Pradesh that you have seen in your 35-year-long career in Uttar Pradesh?
So the challenge for any country for growth is political stability, or rather the reverse, political instability. So we in Uttar Pradesh didn't have stable governments. It's the first time after independence, in 75 years of the existence of our country, that we have had a government which has been repeated to power. So Yogi Adityanath, the Chief Minister, after his first 5-year tenure from 2017 to 2022. When he stood for election again, he won again, and now he's there as Chief Minister from 2022 to 2027. So the stability of tenure of the political side ensures that growth happens. And then his basic challenge was to put the law and order in the state on a even keel. So zero tolerance to crime and criminality, whether it is political people, whether it is the moneyed people, whether anyone. So in our state, more than about I would say 66,000 criminals have been put behind bars, and some have been, of course, exterminated, so that they don't see the state doesn't feel the pressure of such people around, so that we ensure that the state is absolutely safe. And this safety is what brings investors in place. This safety is what ensures that women feel safe. This safety is what ensures that, well, we have a very even keel for taking things forward in every area.
So Uttar Pradesh was one of the first to pass the Special Economic Zone law.
Yes.
In 2002. This was even before the federal government passed such a law.
Yes.
And so what is wrong with the SEZ model that it didn't quite take off, that you are hoping to correct with the SIR model?
So basically, I was also the CEO of Noida, where this SEZ had come up. The promoter, the then company called Reliance, had taken up this project, and they ultimately lost steam then, and they couldn't attract anchor investors to come for the SEZ. And that is one reason why Uttar Pradesh's original SEZ of 2002 did not succeed. But in Noida, the Government of India's SEZ is continuing to do very well. And now in the Bida industrial area that we are intending to make up, this industrial area is about 55,000 acres of land. Almost 50% of land is now available. We within Bida will now have 1 or 2 SEZ. So if we can get private promoters to come up with an SEZ, we will offer them land at very cheap rates to take things forward. I would just like to give a context that if you are a Fortune 500 company, then your capital is subsidized to the level of 75% in our state. 50% subsidy comes from the Government of India, 25% comes from us. So if you put $300 million in a project for semiconductor, then almost about 75%, that is more than $200+ million comes back to you in terms of the subsidy which we provide. So we have very attractive schemes for industrialization, because what we feel is, unless we have manufacturing coming up in our state, the entire urbanization, the employment generation, and the growth of the state is not possible.
So
we are also offering industries from China to come over to India. So leather industries, rare earth industries, defense industries are all being interacted, and we have any number of people coming now to India from China as an alternate after COVID.
So the 3 constraints that you mentioned, you said land is a constraint, you mentioned capital, for which the government needs to subsidize capital, and more generally political stability. But typically, when we think of SEZs, the biggest constraint seems to be regulatory inflexibility. So how does that play out in the new special investment regions differently from the SEZs where there wasn't that much flexibility in regulation?
Well, I have been part of the industry setup for quite a long time, and I have seen the way the Modi government, the Prime Minister's effort has come in shape. So he has come from the state of Gujarat as the Chief Minister, and he has ensured that as the Prime Minister, the ease of doing business is actually happening. So all states are being promoted to go in for ease of doing business. So even though you might not be an SEZ, even a foreign company working in Noida, Ghaziabad, or any of these areas would not feel any restrictive practices coming in place. And incidentally, we have a British heritage. So large number of laws which were from the British times have all been extinguished, and we now have very simplified laws. Even our crime and criminality laws have now been modified after 150 years. So almost everything on the law side is now perfectly in place. Obviously, the challenge is implementation, and the challenge is to have a good team to implement these laws. And this challenge is being faced by our Chief Minister, who ensures that almost on a daily basis, every department is on its toes to ensure that the investors who are coming are given their appropriate support so that they can take things forward.
So, again, then what is the reason that UP is not able to catch up? So the reason I ask this is...
No. So if you see the last 8 years for UP, we are growing faster than India. So we are growing at a faster rate than the nation. Incidentally, for a developing nation or for a developing state, the basis of all development is learning outcomes. The basis of all development is skilling. So we in UP have one of the best learning outcomes now in education, because those are the very critical factors to take your entire population forward. So we are growing faster than India. We have better learning outcomes than an average Indian. So these are things that are taking forward. We had a very low base. So obviously it will take time for us to catch up. We are now the third largest economy or the second largest economy in the country. Maharashtra is ahead of us. Tamil Nadu and UP are almost at level. But we intend to grow faster, and we have the resources because we have the largest land resource in the entire country. We have the largest water resource within the entire country. We have the largest human resource within the entire country. So we have to move forward.
No, but again, I don't think catch-up growth means whether it's growing faster than India on average, because that's an average number.
Yeah.
In India, the poorest states are growing slower than the richest states, which means the poor and the rich states don't converge. They diverge. So UP and Bihar are diverging from...
No, UP is not diverging.
Yes, it is.
It is not. It is growing at 13.6% in the last 8 years. I've just shown you the figures. So just check out the numbers, because UP is growing faster than the Indian average. We are growing faster, but obviously there are 2 or 3 things on which we have to work very hard, and that is availability of land for investors. So that is our challenge, that we have to take things forward.
I will talk to your colleagues at the RBI to check out these growth numbers again.
Yes.
The other part of this is you mentioned human capital as a binding constraint.
Yes.
So once again, I mean, UP is one of the youngest, most populous states.
Our average age is 25.
Yeah. The bigger question, however, is
Yes.
what do you anticipate as success for young people in Uttar Pradesh? Is your expectation that they're going to move to these special investment regions? Is it that they're going to actually find employment in the existing cities? Is it that they're going to migrate to other states within India?
So, I have gone deep into this. The choice has to be left to the individual. If the individual wants to remain in his village or her village and wants to do self-employment, that is one choice to him or her. If the person wants to move to the nearest town and get some skills, so maybe become a salesperson, start a small shop there, that option is with them. If the person wants to do an ITI or a polytechnic degree and move to an industry close by in about 100 kilometers, that is also an option to them. And if the person wants to move to one of our SIRs, and I have been to a robotics factory in Noida where the Chief Minister had gone, we had young girls who were ITI trained. Basically, they were trained in some skill like mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, and they had moved almost 500 kilometers, single young girls working in a robotics factory at our NCR area, and that is also quite possible. So the flexibility should be with the person on the ground. We shouldn't envisage anything for them. We should have options available for people to go wherever they want. And if the pull factor of the pay is such that they can manage in the SIR areas, then obviously they will come. And this is the challenge for SIR. They'll have to offer them better pay, better housing, better hostel facilities to attract. And this is also what we are trying to do within our industrial areas, build hostels so that they ensure that people from outside, young people from outside can stay within these SIR areas and work.
So the reason I ask this question is it depends on how you design the city, right?
Yes.
So if you're designing the city only for basically an industrial township, it's a very different setup than if you expect people to move with families, which require schools and universities and hospitals and not just a manufacturing sector.
Yeah.
So what is sort of your vision for this special investment
So
region?
our special investment area zone would have manufacturing areas. It would have the IT and above such areas. It would have the hospital and the medical side areas. It will have the educational, institutional areas. It will have the market and the commercial areas, as well as housing, group housing. And within each manufacturing facility, we would allow about 15% of the area within the same institution of the manufacturer to make hostels for the people who work for the organization. So it will be a mixed approach.
So the other major question which UP has struggled with is energy and electricity.
Yes.
And you had mentioned in your last slide that farmers are given a massive subsidy, they're given free electricity and so on. But that also means that Uttar Pradesh discoms are the largest when it comes to being loss-making discoms. These are basically distribution utility companies, and they're kind of going bankrupt. So what is the energy policy that you have envisaged for these special investment regions such that you can actually have functional manufacturing there?
So there will be a two-pronged approach. So the discoms would be able to provide power to our energy for the energy requirements of the SIRs. So incidentally, two of our discoms are up for privatization, and these are the two which were somewhat loss-making. We in Uttar Pradesh are funding our loss. So the loss for the discoms is being funded by the government as subsidy, but that is obviously not sustainable. So two of our discoms are going to be privatized very soon. That process is on. But within the SIRs, if large industrial facilities would like to import power, so the law of the land in India allows power to come through the transmission lines on paying of transmission costs. So if you are able to get cheap solar power available anywhere in the country, that is quite possible. So both the options will be available to the industries there. Industry itself will have to take a view on which side they would like to go to.
So one part of what you presented is on the Nirman Act,
Yes.
which is for these special investment regions.
Yes.
So now that you've passed the act, what is the delay in writing down the rules and notifying the act? I mean, when it was being passed, there was this massive sense of urgency and
Yes.
also in raising investment. But now suddenly when it comes to setting up the authority rules and the regulatory framework, it seems to have lost a little bit of steam.
So our Chief Minister been very harsh on us on this very point. But the issue was the acquisition of land, which has taken some time. So some of that has got delayed. So he was of the view that please don't launch your SIR unless you have entire land in place. Because the moment land is partially taken and then you launch something, then getting the rest of the land becomes tough. And then there are issues of contiguity. So right now we are trying to get all our land in place. In the current financial year itself, the land will almost come in place. Once we start getting the land in place, we also have, in the next 2 months, the master plan will get approved. In the next 2 months, the environment clearance will also come, because that is the necessary condition for going forward. And we would also start then distributing raw land. Although the infrastructure will take time, but we'll give large tracts of land for large manufacturers to come in place. Remember that anywhere around Delhi, anywhere around our capital, some of the industries are now restricted, which means orange and red industries can't come in those areas. So if you want to make a steel factory, if you want to make a silicon processing industry, it is these which are now going to be possible in this area of Jhansi. So we are now working that in this current financial year, we put the entire Nirman rules also in place. We get almost all the land in place. We get the master plan in place. We get the environment clearing in place. We get the allotment policy also approved by the government, because the allotment policy will involve subsidies which will have to be funded by the government. Incidentally, the government of India has given a huge loan to the Industrial Development Authority, which is a 0% loan for 50 years. So it's almost a grant which has come to us in the industrial area. This is the first industrial area. There are two other industrial areas which are also going to fall in line. The Prime Minister comes from Varanasi. He represents Varanasi as his constituency. So around Varanasi, another SIR is being planned by the Niti Aayog, which will also come in place very soon on similar lines.
So my last question before I open it up to the audience, you also talked about how law and order is a critical condition
Yes.
to attract investment. And especially when you were Home Secretary, you made a big push to hire more police, implement the laws in a more stringent way, also, be very, very clear.
So our point in our state is that if you are a criminal, you have to be dealt like a criminal. Our judicial system should ensure that you are punished. You are not left on bail. So this is what we have ensured, and we have been very harsh on crime against women and children. And it is here that in India we continue to have the death penalty, and scores of people have got the death penalty on women and child-related crimes. Because this is what we feel is important for our country. Unless we ensure that there is zero tolerance to crime, things will not move forward.
But on the other hand, for
Yes.
rule of law, I mean, your own courts, the Allahabad High Court has sort of, warned and scolded your police force multiple times for going overboard, for demolitions, for very trigger-happy arrests and so on. So
whenever you have a police force of 450,000 people, you obviously will have one or two aberrations. So whenever there is an aberration, it gets carried by the courts. And whenever a court carries it, the press tries to show it at a larger extent. So that is the trick of the trade. So we face it every day, but we are not going back on our basic premise of zero tolerance to crime and criminality. Our Chief Minister is very clear. He's a saint of his own kind. You can't have criminals governing governance. So criminals have to be dealt with as criminals. They can't be a part of political systems also. They have to be dealt with like they should be dealt with.
in that case, you have an extra 4 minutes for the break. Thank you so much for doing this. This was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And I'm so very happy once again to be part of Charter Cities. So we are making this BIDA, which is about 55,000 acres of area for a city, new city completely. It will also have an airport. So we will have an airport there too. We will also have large water bodies to be converted as tourism sites also within our industrial area. So it's going to be a challenge for us to develop, but we have the funds and we have the intent to ensure that it comes, and manufacturing is what drives growth, and that is what will take us to our $1 trillion economy. Thank you, Swati, very much. Thank you all, and thank you, please.